All right, we are keeping on our good streak of trade reviews, and today was a rough day. Now, I still made it out green, but there are lots of red trades involved, a bunch of green trades involved. There's just a lot of trading today. And you can see that with this pre market analysis, we are starting in compression, which means I have solid pivots above and below. Current price action, I was leaning a little bit more bearish and bullish. ES was kind of putting in kind of a ascending or rising wedge. And NQ is kind of a bear pennant. I'm not going to mark out all the pivots, but you can see them. There's a lot here, and then I do have these ones marked. And pretty much my bias is fairly neutral. I'm leaning a little bit more for the downside. But essentially, whichever way we break it, market open, that's the way I'm going to have to trade because I am I have really nice pivots on either side that I am triggered into via momentum analysis or liquidity momentum analysis. So if we get a red candle to here, I'm going to take short for this demand cluster break. If we get a green candle to roughly here, I'm going to take long to not only this pivot, but the next supply, and possibly these pivots up here. So it's going to be completely reactive off of market open. Pretty much the same thing that happened Friday. And it actually worked at market open. It didn't shoot up like this at market open. You actually had plenty of time to enter. Most of the time, it was a huge selling wick on NQ. So NQ shot up like this, came back down, and then I said once it validates most of the selling wick, I'll hop in. Well, I hopped into calls roughly here, and it went very well. Now, we had a couple of pivots. Here was the first one. We had this sizable one in supply. This was a fairly major one as well. And I ended up taking a lot of profits up here in this supply. But I was mostly looking for ES to try to get this high also. And let's draw this out real quick. So I filled roughly here. Contract shot up a ton right out the gate, which was really nice. I did enter that full size because the stop loss was very clear. And what I got like 33% on these calls initially. Now, look what happened here. ES put in a perfect double top. I am bullish for perfect double tops to break, right? So I'm thinking of, because I already trimmed more than half, I'm thinking of re-adding if we dip a little bit further, then invalidate the dip. And here we are, we are dipping a little further, and boom, we invalidate the dip. I bring this back up to almost full size. So I re-added calls here. I think I filled them at like 85 or something. I don't remember what I filled them at. I don't have Thinkorswim open at the moment, but I filled them around 84 to 86, somewhere in that range, mid 80s. I entered this trade initially at 77 cents. So they did chop a decent amount. And I pretty much was just holding for ES to break this perfect double top. And we got it. So I took profits here. Only had a runner left. And NQ did get a little bit higher. Or this is as high as it got. ES got a little bit higher, but NQ flipped pretty weak. This is a bearish liquidity sweep. So realistically, I got 30%, 33% on this trade, but then I re-added and got another 20% from it, ish, like 15, 20%. I don't really include that in the recap because it's just too complicated to track, but that was kind of my first trade. And, it went pretty nice. So I don't really have another trade. We have a nice pivot here. ES has a nice pivot here, which I'm able to trade to. But I would need a pullback beforehand or bullish consolidation. That looks like that's what's happening, but the risk toward needs to make sense. But we ended up putting in a bearish liquidity sweep on NQ, and we started plummeting. Now, this is pretty bearish. And I'm starting to think, okay, most of the move is invalidating. Great, I have all these buy-side pivots down here. I'm not going to mark them all, but we have a bunch. I'll just mark out this one. All these pivots down here to trade to. Same thing on ES, this line here, and even beyond. If we get a little bit further, I'll be entering puts on SPX because ES looks weaker than NQ. NQ is a big buying wick and it's in double demand. ES is not. Make sure supply and demand is on. Yeah, it is. Then this candle happens. I'm like, oh, NQ just flipped a lot stronger than ES. It is miles above the open of this red candle, where ES is only barely above this open. And now I'm bullish because remember, ES barely missed this pivot up here. So similar trade to the perfect double top. It's pretty much the same trade as I took. I entered QQQ calls half size here. I didn't. This selling wick happened at the end of the candle, so I didn't get as good of a fill. But I entered half size with saving buying power to add because I'm like, you know what, it may want to oscillate one more time. If that's the case, I want to be able to add to the position. But by the time this candle closed, ES actually ended up flipping stronger than NQ by a lot, and you can see the difference in strength. Huge difference in strength. ES didn't really give back anything, NQ did, and I filled my second half that I was going to add to QQQ on SPX calls while this candle was a green candle. And right after I filled, this candle dumped and I ended up stopping out. Looking back on it, I don't really think it was a bad trade. Possibly avoidable. Definitely not the greatest trade, but I think it's an okay trade. It's just unfortunate that it dumped right after I filled my second half, which is pretty shitty, but it is what it is. Now I'm still leaning bearish. I'm still leaning bullish for this missed pivot up here on ES and this missed pivot here on NQ, but now it's far away. We've been validating most of the move. I stopped out. So I took 2 half-size losses there. I entered half-size on QQQ, and instead of averaging down, I just entered SPX. But with the way this candle printed, even if I only entered QQQ, I can't average down on this candle. It's invalidated, right? I was thinking maybe it puts in a bull pennant or something. That is not. And I'm pretty much triggering into puts, actually. So I took 2 half-size losses there, pretty much 1 full-size loss. And I filled SPX puts at the close of this candle and at the start of the next candle, right when the next candle opened red. Because I'm triggered in. You know, invalidated more than 50% of the drop, or I mean of the bounce. With this drop, as you can see, we're breaking past the 61.8. ES is weaker than NQ. I have a lot of pivots down here. I'm triggered in. I think my stop loss was something like this. Was looking pretty good. I entered it at 2.6. Immediately shot to 3.3. ES ended up flipping very strong, unfortunately. QQQ puts were way better. It is what it is, and I stopped out, which was awesome. So that was pretty freaking annoying. But right when I stopped out, I did the exact same thing and I had to reverse again, and I filled SPX calls. The exact same analysis. I have a tested but unbroken pivot above, and a majority of the move invalidates. I'm triggered in. And unfortunately, I was hornswoggled on the calls that I was in, and I just got baited into puts. And now I'm back in calls. So that's 3 losses in a row, totaling 2 full losses. This trade was full size here. This put trade was full size, and then those call trades were half size each, so that equates to 1 full size loss. So right now I'm actually a little bit red on the day because I've had 1 win. We'll call it 1.5x win because I re-added. And then 2 full-size losses. I'm slightly red on the day. But I enter the calls roughly here because it's the same kind of analysis. And I'm looking for this pivot and hoping that it gets there. And it does. It does indeed get there, and we get a potential reversal candle here. So I take profits here. We get another green candle. It gets a big selling wick. I took more profits. I do leave a little bit, but I was in this trade 1.5x. I did enter heavier on this trade. Possibly not the best psychology. It's not like my psychology is bad. I was going to honor my stop loss regardless. But it ended up working out. So I entered that trade 1.5x size. I was slightly red on the day. and I made 42% on my 1.5x here. I only left a single runner left. Only a single runner. And yeah. So I'm green on the day now by a little bit. That's a bearish liquidity sweep. NQ possibly looks like a inverse head and shoulders, and well, that's an issue. As you can see, we just dumped, and I'm triggered back into shorts. So guess what I do? I hop right back into puts because I am triggered in. So I filled QQQ puts roughly here before it got to this low because I don't like filling on pivots, even minor pivots. Here's my big PT. Here's my stop loss-ish. Crazy risk to reward again. And yeah, I'm looking for this trend line to break to the downside and actually catalyze a solid move to the downside. You can kind of make whatever trend line you want, but that's kind of the one I rolled with. Same analysis. It's just liquidity momentum and going to the nearest pivot. All right, I got hornswoggled twice in a row. We hit this. This was very scary. And it was very scary because I was up a ton and NQ perfectly swept this pivot. I didn't trim anything. I literally did not trim anything. First off, the trade was only on for 2 minutes, right? But it was really green. I mean, it was up 48%, like 45%, I think. But I didn't trim anything because NQ was weaker than ES, and ES had a perfect little triple bottom right here. And the same bias that made me very bullish for this perfect double top makes me bearish. Or the same analysis that creates the bias that was bullish for this break is also now bearish for this break. So I didn't trim anything, and I thought I was going to get absolutely hornswoggled. Luckily, I didn't. NQ flipped strong there for a second, and I sold. I had a runner left. I sold here. We got a volume spike done. Now, NQ barely missed this pivot. Oh, I actually sold the last bit on the next green candle. This one. NQ barely missed this pivot. It's a very big one. There it is. Boom. That is a huge pivot to barely miss. That's damn close to double bottom. ES put in a double bottom here. So immediately on this bounce, I'm looking for a re-entry. Okay. But that was a good win. I ended up still making the same. Even though NQ got a lot lower, the contracts chopped, so I still made 48%. So that was nice. You know, I had a handful of losses. I think I had a total of 4 losses today. 3 small half-size losses and 1 full-size loss. And then 3 wins, all of which were full-size. The first one was, I guess you can count it as bigger than full-size because I re-added and made money on that. That second win, these calls were 1.5x. This was just normal 1x. So I was green on the day by roughly 1 full green trade of like 20, 30%, something like that. And right now I'm just looking for, this is going to be my last trade. I am very bearish for this level to hit. But it doesn't happen. Or it gets close to happening here. I almost get in. I say if this buying wick invalidates, then I'm in. It didn't quite invalidate, and we end up shooting up. The inverse head and shoulders played out. Beautiful liquidity analysis, by the way. I wasn't really feeling calls, though. I mean, the liquidity analysis worked today, and it also didn't work. Like, it worked beautiful here, it worked beautiful here. Look at the beautiful sweeps and then rejections of these pivots. Like, this is beautiful stuff. But also, I mean, right here I got hornswoggled. Right here I got hornswoggled. So it was working more than it wasn't, which is big. But by this point, it's pretty much 7:30. I'm done trading options. And I didn't take part in this move because not only did I not have a ton of confidence with today because I kept taking losses, but I'm very, very bearish for this level. And I couldn't possibly consider this likely until we got to roughly here. And by then, it's a rough risk reward. So I sat out on that upside move. But when this candle happened, I actually entered. I entered shorts on ES. I switched over to NQ. I did send out the TA alert, and we did get all the way back down, and I took profits on this candle here right when ES broke. So today I actually ended mildly green on futures, but mildly green on options, but very green on futures. I only took one trade on futures. That is reversal volume, if I've ever seen it, on ES, with a pivot sweep, with a buying wick, while in Q's in demand, and we did get a nice reversal out of that. I didn't trade that though. So today ended on a pretty good note. Made a lot of money on that drop to the downside. But yeah, it was very hairy. I mean, if you go to the bigger time frame charts, like look what this look what this morning looked like. On ES. It was not a very fun morning. But luckily, because of the perfect double tops and double bottoms, those pivots actually swept and I was sized in heavier for those ones. And that allowed me to be green. But I mean, even if we just hop to the 15-minute and then click out of this, look at this day. This is not a very profitable day. Now, if you trade liquidity analysis, you did okay, right? We had some decent sweeps, but there was a lot of misses today too. So today was a rough day. I usually do not ever lose back-to-back trades, and the fact that I lose technically 3 back-to-back, even though 2 of them were half-sized, that was pretty annoying. Just for it to go back up to where I thought it was going to go on the first attempt. But that's the way it goes sometimes. You just got to honor your stop losses. The gains will compound. And don't even look at your P&L to the end of the week or the end of the month. And you'll see that it's magically a lot greater than it was last month. That's pretty much what I do. But with that being said, does anyone have any questions regarding this morning's decision making or analysis? It's pretty simple. We have defined pivots. When it invalidates a majority of the move towards a pivot, I take a trade in direction of that pivot. If it misses it, I lose money. If it gets there, I make money. And it missed about half the time and made it half the time this morning. And due to risk reward and sizing, I'm definitely more green than I am red. So doesn't look like there's any questions. All right, sweet. Well, if there's no questions, I will let you guys go. Again, we have triple lessons. So we have a lesson tomorrow, a lesson the next day, and a lesson the next day, all TAs. We're going to knock out the end of that TA course. Abraham, yeah, regarding your DM, hold off on that. I saw it today. But the way the master classes are working radically changed over the weekend. Typically, people would purchase the recording to the masterclass and I'd send them to Google Drive link. That's coming to an end. So you, Abraham, are actually going to be like one of the first people that tests my new system that I've been building over the weekend. So I'm going to get to you today. I'm working with myself and then some of the lifetime members. We're going to make sure the system's working properly. And then you're going to be like the first person that actually buys a masterclass on it. So that'll happen though. I haven't forgot about you. I've left your DM on red. Oh no, you're good, dude. Don't worry about it. From your perspective, it looks like I was ignoring you, but I wasn't. So I will keep you updated on that. But yeah, you are literally going to be the first person to test the new system with actually buying a real masterclass. So I'm looking forward to that. And your feedback and all that stuff will be recorded and whatnot. So, but all right, sweet. This hopefully tomorrow morning isn't as choppy, but we will see. We have FOMC minutes on Wednesday, so maybe that's more of a catalyst. And yeah, continuing to be green. I mean, pretty much every day and every week is green currently. Hopefully it doesn't change. And yeah, if you guys need anything, let me know. Otherwise, I will let you guys go. I'll see you guys later. All you lifetime people, stay tuned. I'm going to need your guys' help for testing things here in roughly an hour or so. I'll keep all of you guys updated. All right, I will see you guys later. Bree, it was great seeing you again, dude. Good luck on the rest of your hike across the country. And yeah, let me know if you guys need anything. All right, I'll see you guys later.